Hey everyone, I'm Maika, I'm a psychologist, and in this video I answer the following question which I was sent. How to interact with in-laws you don't like. What can I do if they live far away and visiting them means to stay at their home for several days? It exhausts me and I do not like to go. So you're definitely not alone with this. I'm sure this resonates with many of the self-leadership experts here. It can be exhausting to visit in-laws and family even when the relationships are great. What to speak of what it's like if the connection isn't that strong. The first thought that comes to my mind is there any way for you not to stay at their house when you visit their town? Can you stay at a friend's house, another family member's house that is less exhausting to be around, or a hotel? If the only reason you're staying at their home is because they want you to and not because there's no other option, talk to your partner about how you can change that. It's a question of how to let them know. And in the case of in-laws, it can be easier for your partner to have that conversation. It is a difficult conversation to have, but it's so worth it. And over time, they'll get used to it, maybe even discover the advantages that it has for them. And the first time you visit and don't stay at their home, it will be a bit awkward, but each time you do it, it gets easier and more natural. Recently, I talked about how to express what you want. I'll link that video up here. Maybe you want to check that out to see how you can prepare for such a conversation. Next, no matter where you stay, plan and arrange to take breaks and time off to yourself. Go for walks, take naps, retreat into your room, drive into town alone or with your partner or kids. Do something that is fun, like going to the movies, the museum, the playground, sightseeing. Something that also recharges your battery so you're not only spending energy throughout the visit, but also refilling your energy tank. Tell your in-laws something along the lines of, it's important for us to be with you during the holidays. At the same time, we also care about having time for our relationship or our kids. So sometimes we'll be doing things just the 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. Of course, these breaks can also be just for you and more spontaneous. I'm tired, I'm gonna go take a nap. Or I need some fresh air, I'm going for a walk, I'll be back in an hour. Or I'm in this really interesting book right now and I'm gonna go read a bit more and I'll come back downstairs when it's time to prepare dinner. No matter how undoable this might sound, it is doable and people get used to the authentic you. They get used to you taking breaks or staying somewhere else, especially if you address the needing fresh air, being tired. It's easier to talk about than how their company is making you feel. Of course, it's likely that your in-laws won't like this at first. What helps is to remind yourself that this isn't something that you are doing to them, but it's something that they are doing to themselves. Privately knowing that gives you the strength to stick to also taking care of your needs. Their reaction to your authentic core needs is not your responsibility. It's not your responsibility to adapt to anything they want without any limit of the consequences that has for you. Remember, setting limits and boundaries isn't mean or rude. It's a natural part of life and relationships. Keep that truth inside you. That way you can have a calm and appreciative air when you're interacting with your in-laws. Setting boundaries doesn't require us to switch into an overall mood of defiance or rejection. That's actually what often happens outside of our awareness when we don't set boundaries. So even if someone starts looking for rejection in you when you set a boundary, or they project that into you, know that that's not what you're doing. And the best way to signal that you're not doing something that is meant to be hurtful is to be emotionally warm, Also when you're setting a boundary. Also ask yourself, who is especially draining to you? Some of your in-laws may be easier to be around and talk to than others. Stick to them and not the draining ones. Even if it's the poor old grandma and no one's talking to her, the happiness of the most unhappy or draining person in the room is not your responsibility. It's their responsibility, and it comes from the way they are choosing to handle life and that get together. Not because you're not willing to listen to them for hours on end. You don't have to be the Band-Aid for their deeper issues. It won't help them. You don't have to sit next to them for the whole evening, in other words. Next, think about what else could be done differently during the time that you're together with your in-laws. What exactly is so draining? Is it that they complain and criticize a lot? Or is it that you just sit on a sofa or around a table without moving your body for several days? Find ways of changing these things that are draining to you. Be more active and a co-designer of the get-togethers. Take charge of conversations, start new topics, ask questions that go into a direction that interests you too. Suggest for everyone to go bowling together so you're not just sitting the whole day. Or ask, who's in the mood to play a game? Move from being a passive attendee to an active co-creator of the time that you spend together. Try things out, see how they go, and change what doesn't work. Another thought that applies specifically to in-laws is that what is most important to them is to see their child, not you, so to say. Their needs are geared towards their children. And when parents and adult children meet, they often fall back into this, to them, really pleasant remembering of the good old days when it was the four of us. And now we're all back together in this same constellation. To them, that time passes more quickly than for you because you don't have the remembrance of those good old days. You can't emotionally connect to that. So to you, it might seem like, okay, no one has anything important to say anymore. Why can't we just go? But to them, it's about experiencing the togetherness of their family unit, even if that means doing seemingly nothing. The upside of knowing this is that, number one, it's easier to give them that time. And number two, you can allow yourself to withdraw more and encourage your partner to be fully present with their family. You don't have to be responsible for being there all the time, or even for being present fully all the time when you're together with them. You can just sometimes take a break while they enjoy their togetherness. Just sit there on the couch sometimes, take some abdominal breaths, relax your muscles, release tension, practice expanding your emotions. It's likely no one will notice or care if you're not doing it the whole time. So it's actually interesting. If you've got this healthy balance between retreating and being actively present, then you can be with them and also stay in balance with your energy for yourself at the same time. So this taking breaks isn't the same as being a passive attendee who just sits through the whole thing and goes along with everything everyone else decides to do and kind of feels like a puppet on a string without any chance of bringing themselves, their authentic self, into the get-together. And it's also questionable if people are actually requesting this of you, or if that is just something that you learned in your past and that you're still carrying around, and you can also let go of and see how much that changes for you. Also, decide in advance when you will leave in the evenings to go to your room or hotel. Of course, you can be flexible with yourself if you're inspired to stay longer, but don't walk into a family get-together without an idea of the timeframes that are healthy for you. And it also helps to talk about this with your partner and find a solution in case you have different ideas about that. what makes visits to family and in-laws exhausting is if we allow them to completely take over and control us for those days. So it's an opportunity to practice effective communication, boundary, and autonomy skills. If you'd like to learn more about this, check out this video in which I share 6 strategies for resisting emotional takeovers in interactions with emotionally immature people. To the person who asked this question, thank you for asking. I hope there was something in this for you. If you or anyone else has any more questions about this, post them in the comment section. I'll give my best to share some ideas. And if you see someone else's question, you have an idea, help them out, share your ideas. Also, and this is now for everyone, what do you do? How do you take breaks during family get-togethers that are several days long? I think it could be really interesting to collect some ideas in the comment section of this video. If you're new here on this channel, consider subscribing. I also write a weekly self-leadership newsletter that you can subscribe to at the link in the description box. Till next time, take care. And remember to give yourself permission to set the boundaries you need to stay balanced during visits to family and in-laws.